been 2 years since the Occupy Wall Street movement erupted across the country, and since that time, outrage with the U.S. financial system has only escalated. A new Reuters poll shows that only 15% of Americans are satisfied with the government's effort to prosecute Wall Street bankers in the aftermath of the financial collapse. Former police captain Ray Lewis is part of the other 85%, but he would argue he's also part of the 99%. See, Lewis was a retired captain of the Philadelphia police force when he decided to go to New York and protest in full uniform. Unsurprisingly, he was arrested along with many others. And instead of receiving support from his fellow officers, he was instead threatened with the retraction of his pension. So to talk more about his activism and why he chose to protest on behalf of the people instead of the rich and powerful, I'm joined now by Ray Lewis. Thank you so much for coming on, Ray.
Thank you, Abby, for having me.
So, Ray, have you continued with your activism since being arrested at Occupy Wall Street?
I absolutely have. Even though it hasn't been published, I've been involved in a number of different protests.
Awesome. Do your former fellow officers stand in solidarity with your beliefs, or have they made you a pariah?
Most of them have made me a pariah because in my activities in Philadelphia, I tried to talk to a few of the blue shirts, the younger officers, and as soon as I started conversation, they turned their head. But I have ran into a few commanders who I worked with and knew me personally, and they talk with me, and they not necessarily support me, but they're very willing to let me know that they're on my side in regards to the movement.
And Ray, the police claim they went after you because you were misrepresenting the force, of course, but you say it was about corporate corruption. What really went on there?
Well, as soon as I got arrested at Wall Street, a couple days later, I got a letter from my own union, the Fraternal Order of Police. And when I was opening it, I thought that they were going to tell me, Ray, we're aware of what happened, and we want to let you know we're going to support you in any way you need. It wasn't the case. Here the letter said that they got a complaint, a grievance from the pension director, and that there was going to be a hearing. So they tried to intimidate me by bringing up my pension, but it didn't work. I'm still protesting in full uniform.
And because of these threats, I mean, do you have any regrets? I mean, you did go through a really hard time facing these threats and also facing almost removing you from the union.
Abby, I have not one regret, nor did I ever come even close to regretting anything I've done in this movement.
Amazing, amazing. I know that you served as a source of inspiration for a lot of people. It was really moving to see you in full uniform out there, along with all the protesters, Ray. Considering how police pensions and other benefits are so closely tied to what happens on Wall Street, why do you think the majority of police were and still are so antagonistic toward the movement? Do they not realize that they're part of the 99%?
A couple of reasons that they're antagonistic. One is that they cannot relate to the occupiers. The occupiers look different, they dress different, they lived different in Zuccotti Park, and what you can't relate to, you fear. And what you fear, you're more likely to attack. And that's why a lot of this action was attributed to the police officers. The other thing is, every officer, and this is a big reason, by the way, every officer, before they join the force, they have to take a test. It's called the Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory Test. It does not measure intelligence. It measures different aspects of your personality. The two that come into importance here are, number one, they measure your aggressiveness. They are looking for aggressive police because you need aggression in this field of work. The other thing they're looking for is a level of insensitivity, because if they hire somebody who's sensitive, they feel that that person is not going to be able to handle the blood and guts, and they'll quit. And then they will have lost the 6 months worth of training that they gave that officer. What they don't realize in hiring the insensitive person is that person's more likely to beat up someone, and then you got a $25 million lawsuit. So it's not cost effective to hire insensitive people.
Wow, that is fascinating. That's something that I need to explore more. I had no idea that there was this kind of personality test vetting police officers. Do you think that those two factors are why we saw such aggression and a lot of brutality among the movement?
Those two factors, and the fact that, like I said earlier, the police cannot relate to these occupiers whatsoever.
Right. Also, as it came out later, law enforcement organizations were engaging in extensive spying and infiltration of these groups. Why do you think so many federal resources were spent trying to stop Occupy Wall Street?
It was actually a compliment to Occupy Wall Street. That's how much they feared the possible success of this movement.
Why do you think they feared it so much?
Because we wanted to take down Wall Street. We wanted to take down the corporations. And the corporations are what control this country. They are what control every politician by contributing so much money to them that they will win election. In effect, the politicians are merely puppets, and it is the corporations that control this company. I'm sorry, this country.
Yeah, no, sometimes it's hard to tell the difference because it's run like a corporation, right? You know, as a participant of Occupy Wall Street, looking back kind of over the evolution of the movement and how it's splintered off into a lot of different organizations that are more directly linked to specific actions, what do you think the biggest success was?
The biggest success was the 99% versus the 1% slogan. Whoever thought of that was a genius, because that made a lot of sense to a lot of people across this country. They realized when they read that a certain CEO was making $37,000 a minute, and they were making $37,000 a year, it woke them up. And so bringing that to light made a lot of people realize, wow, there's not just rich people in this country, there's filthy rich people in this country. And I deserve some of that money. When somebody is a multi-billionaire and they are paying their employees minimum wage and will not give them benefits, something's wrong.
I agree. I think the conversation, the shifting of the dialogue was really the biggest success that came out of that. Those statistics that you just outlined are really shocking. But Ray, you know, inequality is higher than ever before. 2 years after Occupy took place. I mean, what do you think needs to happen? Do we need to get in the streets again? How can we really make Wall Street accountable?
We can't. They're too powerful. And they have their police on their side. The first sign I held up the day I was arrested stated, NYPD, do not be Wall Street mercenaries. And unfortunately, they are. So we are not going to bring down Wall Street like we thought in an Occupy way. What is going to happen is we're going to have a major economic meltdown.
I fear that you're right. It has to get a lot worse before it gets better. Ray Lewis, former Philadelphia police captain, thank you so much for everything you do standing up on the side of the people.
Thank you, Abby.